All right, today's activity 3.8 called Debate It, Organizing and Communicating an Argument. So we're going to be looking at some articles about the pros and cons of social networking, and you're going to plan an argument about social networking by writing reasons and evidence that support a position and present a position on the controversy. We're not going to get to the debate part, but we'll do the first two parts. It says, look at the following chart. Be sure to use the tips you learned in the last lesson about reading graphics to understand the information provided. Do you relate to any of this data? Does anything surprise you? Evaluate the effectiveness of this graphic. In what ways could the information be shown? What other ways? Okay, so in here it's just a list of percentages of how teens use social networking sites. So if you have answered these questions here, do you relate to any of this data? Does anything surprise you? Evaluate the effectiveness, so you can put that information here in the My Notes section. Introducing a new strategy called metacognitive markers. This can be a little bit difficult to do digitally, but you can use the My Notes section, or you can just use the highlight feature like we've always been using to do a similar thing. I think you can add, well, you could do a little comment, add a little sticky note. You could do that as well. So you could use sticky notes or the highlight feature to add question marks next to questions you have about the text, an exclamation point next to a reaction that you're reading, like you were excited, or wow, I didn't know that, or that's interesting, kind of thing. Use an asterisk next for a comment about the text, and underline to identify a key idea or detail in the text. So using that highlight feature is always a good idea to point out those main ideas as you're reading through it, so you don't have to go back and find them again. Our purpose for this reading is using those metacognitive markers. So once again, if you forgot, they're right here. The two articles we're going to read are both about social networking. So go ahead and read the first one, remembering to highlight, use those sticky notes to use those metacognitive markers. After you read the article, number 2, which adverse effect of social networking discussed in the text is supported by evidence? So what is the evidence? So what is one of the bad adverse means negative things or bad effects of social networking. So which one is supported by evidence? And what is that evidence? Okay. Number 3, craft and structure. What is the meaning of the word introverted in the second bullet, paragraph 4? Use context clues to help you determine the meaning. Number 4, what does the advice from Dr. Rosen in the final paragraph tell you about the good and bad of social networking? So revisit Dr. Rosen's advice, and what does that tell us about social networking? Number 5, it says you're going to organize the pros and cons into a little chart here of that previous article. Let's see. This is a group discussion that we should have in class, so skip that part for right now. Check your understanding. After listening to your peers' ideas about social networking, write a summary of someone else's argument, including commentary about one piece of supporting their evidence. And then there's the second article. You're also going to use those metacognitive markers in this one. You'll notice that it's set up in like a pros and cons already for you, so it makes it a little bit easier to work your way through it and then know what's what. So that's kind of helpful for this article. Not a typical setup for an article. So after you read that, number 7, what are the important details in the second and third paragraphs of this informational text to help you understand? Number 8, use context clues to help you determine the meaning of the word vulnerability in the text of paragraph 1 in the con column. Does the word have a negative or positive connotation? Okay, remember, connotation is like the feeling that the word has. So does it have a positive or negative feeling behind that word, and why? Number 9, based on the information in paragraphs 2 and 3 of the con column, what can you infer about anonymity, that means being anonymous, on social networking sites? Provide textual evidence in your answer. So are you anonymous or are you not anonymous on social networking sites, and provide textual evidence for that one. Number 10, what is your understanding of the word malicious based on the U.S. Marine Corps ban on social media discussed in paragraph 4? So once again, using those context clues. Number 11, infer how social networking may improve mental health based on the evidence in paragraph 7 of the pro column. So it's just, I like how this is going back and helping you look at pieces of information and making inferences about them and how you could possibly use them in an argument. Number 12, so summarize the claim in paragraph 10 of the con column. In what way is the column supported or not supported by reasons and evidence? Okay, so revisit that to answer that question. And number 13, summarize 3 to 4 ideas from the preceding text that support your position on whether social networking is good for society. We should have done that at the beginning. So obviously most of your opinions are probably going to be that it's good at the beginning, and then maybe by the end of this your opinion might have changed, which happens with good data. Okay, once we have an opinion and then we are faced with data that opposes that opinion, a smart person looks at the data and says, oh, I didn't know that, or that's really, that's good data, and often will have to change their previous opinion based on new evidence. You don't want to just stick your fingers in your ears on anything that says something different. You go, la 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 la, I'm not listening. You can't do that. That's not how real life works. Well, you can do that. It's not a very wise way of living, though. So it says, use the KWH graphic organizer to record information as you continue researching. So we have done some research already. So if you're going to choose one or the other. Social networking is harmful or social networking is not harmful, something like that, and then provide information that you learned. So what did you already know? What further questions do you have? Where could you find the answers? And any notes from the research that we had above. And then we're not going to do any further research on that, but this is going to help prepare you for this. So also the same claim using those two articles. So you're going to provide 3 reasons and evidence and cite the source, which is going to be one of those 2 articles that was in the previous one. So 3 reasons for or against. So that's what you're going to be. Social networking is good for society or good for people, or social networking has a negative effect on people. And you're going to provide 3 reasons, 3 pieces of evidence, and where you got that evidence from. And then, no, ignore this last page. So everything but that last page you can do